Years ago.
Oh, bullshit. All right. So we're supposed to have 9 seconds to get your attention here on the Randcast, and then otherwise you move on. Well, we blew that window. So, Casey, I got some sad news. Last week's podcast was one of our best. And
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but once again, it goes down to old men and technology reaching out to young people for technology, only to have it broken off in the old person's ass. It's
What
gone.
happened?
I don't know
Gone.
what happened. I don't want to dissect it. I don't want to wit. You hear that?
Yeah, they're coming for you.
No, that's fire too. That's
They had to
police.
send. They had to send everybody. They had to, if you're not, when they found out they had to take you in, they sent everyone.
They'll pull me out of my underpants, socks, and a "we kick ass till we smell shit" t-shirt.
Yep. And we.
Anyway, so what I would like to do is this. Have you paid any attention to why William Regal is so prominent right now on the internet or in wrestling? Not,
I
not.
No, I did see some. I think I saw some just headlines about him going back to WWE, maybe or.
Yeah, I'm going to read it right now. Well, I'm going to just touch on it a little bit. And this is an example, folks, even though we're past the 9 second point, of what you can get from our podcast. It separates us from the other podcasts. Casey, William Regal's son makes WWE NXT 2.0 debut. Charlie Dempsey made his WWE NXT 2.0 debut this week. Dempsey, the son of legendary William Regal, participated in a pre-recorded Chase University comedy segment with Andrew Chase, Bodie Hayward, Thea Hale, and a few of Chase's students. Okay. So he does still live there. I guess it is that. Huh. I wonder if Steven's going to work for NXT's Performance Center in Florida or the UK.
Oh, you're asking me? I don't know. That's a
I'm
good
just throwing it
question.
out there. It looks
That's a
like the
good
kid, let's see if the kid's on UK or NXT. Do you know how that works or no?
UK or NXT.
Yeah.
I just know, don't they have a developmental system over there? I don't know the details.
Yeah, I can't get to the root of it. I guess I'd have to delve more into it. But the bottom line is Regal is going back and affiliating with World Wrestling Entertainment. The only things I can see here are some certain NXT UK stuff and then NXT stuff. And, if this kid actually loves wrestling, he's going to be good.
Yeah.
With an old man being what do you call it when a legacy?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, with that legacy. But, everybody knows William Regal. A lot of people remember Steve Regal, Lord, or what was it again? Was it Lord Steven Regal?
Yes, Lord Steven Regal. Yes.
From WCW. And then when Vince bought WCW, Regal learned how to transition into those politics and ended up making a lot of money for himself and for WWE. Right?
Oh yeah, big time.
When you were at OVW, did he ever come down or was he more performer then?
No, he was just a performer. He was a performer, but he never came down. Not that I recall. No, he never did.
Yeah, I wonder when that happened, Him and Norman Smiley, I think Norman is still there. I'd have to look. But they've got really good fucking people skills.
Yeah.
They're very charming individuals. And they
Yeah.
both have such a command of, the storytelling, the in-ring, The things that have bummed me out, I don't understand how NXT UK has made any money.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Do you know if they run?
No, you know what? I'll look that shit up next week. We'll get to the root. We'll get to the meat of the potato, mate.
Yeah.
Who's that great big kid that was UK? God damn it, he had a name change. You know?
Oh, Walter.
Yeah, what's his name changed? You know?
Let's. I don't know.
Well, I'm trying to make a point here. So
Well, they had a name. Go ahead. What's your point?
Gunther.
Gunther. Okay.
So I guess it would be about 2 years ago, man. The internet wrestling community, which is probably 30% to 40%, 30%, let's say, just to be safe, is made up of indie wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
They were all angry. They're rebranding Walter. They've changed his name to Gunther. What kind of skullduggery is this? So as somebody that has too much wrestling going on, in my real life, I don't watch it. But what I have seen is the transition in that guy Gunther's body. Holy shit. Have you seen him?
No, not recently, no.
Huh, unbelievable. It doesn't even look like the same guy. If you could put one picture of Walter and put a current Gunther up there, it's not the same guy. He's still a menacing guy. He's believable as all hell. But the son of a bitch added 10 years to his life by adhering to the rebrand in the WWE wellness program.
Okay.
You got to see him. What about the other big kid? Braun Strowman, another one. He added 10 years to his life since his comeback. He looks great.
Oh, see, I haven't seen him since he's came back.
You got to see the bodies on these guys, man. It's great, you know? And, you know, the internet wrestling community was in this horrible... They're branding him a Nazi, damn it. And that's not what happened. No, anyway, I can't help but feel that a lot of Regal and Norman Smiley have been in the mind of Gunther / Walter to get him to the point where he is now, where he's making money. And I believe he's on the roster.
Okay.
You know, but outside of him, I can't think of anybody else except for Belt Tooth Tony that used to come out with the belt in his teeth.
Who?
Oh, I forget his name now. He had long hair, and he was in the system. He used to jump back and forth from NXT UK to NXT America. And now he's playing this Irish pub brawler with Sheamus.
Yeah, I don't know.
The internet's been a tear over that too because they rebranded him. He looks ridiculous. Well, now he's making money. That's what they don't get.
The internet's...
Go ahead.
No, the internet's become Mr. Burns.
That's what I hear.
It's Mr. Burns.
If I read it in an opinion, a Nazi, Smithers. If I read it, that's the voice I hear in my head. You know, the internet wrestling mark has no and the 30%. I'm targeting the 30%. The Indian.
You want to know why? That's me hitting the Burns button in your head when I'm running the ship inside your brain. When you read that, I hit the Burns lever.
I think there was an episode of Kim Possible like that, where the evil scientist was up in the brain, working the brain.
Yep. Okay. I hit you have a Mr. Burns switch in there. I don't know if you knew that, but I'm taking the opportunity to use that Burns button to its fullest.
Well, keep it coming because it really does help me process the idiocy.
Yeah, that's why I do it. I know what's good. You know, I've had long enough to, I've spent enough time in there. It took me a little while to, iron out all the kinks and everything, but you've been doing pretty good lately. So I credit that to my my wheels, my wheelsmanship, running the ship, you know.
Does it require a lot of maintenance?
A little WD-40, a little like on the Tin Man. I just keep a little oil on me, give you a couple of squirts when you start to rust up. And then
Is there any duct tape being used?
duct tape?
Yeah.
No, I try to stay away from that, you know.
Thank you. Yeah,
Might cause a short circuit, you know, some
it's already
fire. It's a
it's already
fire hazard.
gunked up enough. So my point is this: is that you got these guys, and that's what I'm going to target the 30 percenters. Let's call them the 30 percenters, the idiots. The 30 percenters are actual indie tards that were better off buying tickets. It was better for everyone, including themselves. They don't even know it. But the idiots who want to be wrestlers and say, "I love the business, man," they they're angry. Well, how could they do this to Gunther? To what was his name again? The first name.
Walter.
How can they do this to Walter? How can they do this to Belt Tooth Tony? Where the kid had no gimmick. He was technically pretty sound, but his gimmick was he came out with the NXT belt in his teeth. That was it, you know? So you get this guy ready and they rebrand him. What do you think you're doing in developmental, folks? NXT is not supposed to be its own brand. Look at the definition. Google it. Look on Wikipedia. Developmental. So to get these guys ready as they can, and then they get their opportunity on TV. So Walter and Belt Tooth Tony have probably quadrupled their income since the rebrand that you guys were so disapproving of, you know? I mean, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, yes, especially in the internet wrestling community, especially amongst the 30 percenters, which make up the independent wrestling community. But how can you have such a strong opinion when you really aren't that invested in it, meaning buying their merchandise? I never saw a Gunther t-shirt anywhere.
Right.
Or a Walter t-shirt anywhere here, you know what I mean? So anyway, that's the bottom line. So wrapping that back into the wiener package that is William Regal. And you know what? I got really angry when we lost that part of the podcast last week, but it's okay. Everything happens for a reason. You must be doing your thing up here today. Is there an acceptance? Is there an acceptance function up there?
Yeah, but it's been busted for a while. We got to get someone to keep maintenance on it.
Well, it's got to be working to some extent because I accept it's gone and everything happens for a reason. So what I want to do is this: I would love to rehear your relationship with Sir William Regal. Now, I never knew this last week. You told me. I thought you said that you'd worked with him.
I worked a couple of times. I worked a couple dark matches with him.
House shows or TVs?
They would have been TVs if they were dark. Yeah, they weren't house shows. No, they were both in tag scenarios. It was myself and Roadkill against him, and one time it was Sylvain Grenier.
Yeah, the Canadian kid.
Yeah, and I don't remember who the other partner was. But I think that, because at the time, they were teaming me with Roadkill, and they wanted to do the Kingpin gimmick, the move from the Kingpin, and that was Dusty's idea. And Regal is a Dusty guy for sure. Dusty's one of the guys that, when Dusty was, I don't know, I think maybe Watts might have brought Regal in initially to WCW, but Regal and Dusty after that, I think when he came in, Watts left, and then Dusty was maybe back in charge, and so Regal and Dusty were tight. So
I think Watts / superstar Bill Dundee.
Okay, so anyways, so Dusty and Regal had always been tight. I think through WCW even up to that point. And, I had a relationship with Dusty prior to that because I worked with him on the Independents. And by the next time I had seen him after that was then in WWE. So he was part of creative at the time, Dusty. So, and that was his idea to put me and Roadkill together. He wanted to do the Kingpin gimmick along with Michelle McCool. And so they brought us up to TV a couple of times to work darks. And so naturally, Dusty put us with Regal.
Yeah.
To give us a look, or, he knew Regal would do it the right way. Regal's a great politician.
Now, if I may, please hold your thought. Dude, the first thing you said to me was that I was teaming with Roadkill and William Regal. I would love to see Regal doing Regal against that kid.
Well, I didn't team with Roadkill. We were working against. I didn't team with Regal. We were
No. You were teaming with Roadkill, but I would have loved to see his facials and Gaga in the ring with Roadkill.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was, the matches were fun. It's more about we're trying to get and the gimmick was just in its infancy.
And like you said, there's just no better guy.
Yeah.
Yes. Get a look at it.
Anyways, so yeah, I worked with Regal a couple of times, and I think he was on. I think then they ended up not doing the gimmick with me and Roadkill because they rebranded ECW and they brought Roadkill in for ECW, so that fell by the wayside. That's why they ended up putting me with Damian Sandow, Idol Steven, and it was just kind of the teacher's pet. It's not really a gimmick, I would have loved
some guys that had a clue that could work with Spanky in London.
Yeah. We had great match. I mean, I loved working with London Kendrick. I mean, I've said that 1,000 times on the podcast. But I think, then when I did go to SmackDown, I think Regal was on Raw at the time, so I didn't run into him quite as much.
Yeah.
Because we did two different loops. I mean, a lot of times, though, they would bring you, for whatever reason, sometimes if you're on SmackDown, they'd bring you in for Raw, and sometimes we did combined tapings.
Sure.
So you would still be around him, But, I mean, it's just, he's a really good guy. I like Regal.
Yeah, man, like I said, how big was Amish, his legit shoot, height, and weight?
Roadkill was he might have been a little bit taller than me. I can't remember. He might have been 6'1", 6'2", 6'2"-ish.
300 pounds?
Huh?
300 pounds?
He had to have been pretty close to that.
Dude, I just would have loved to see
maybe a biscuit under 300.
A biscuit under. But man, that's just perfect, like you said. And what a smart guy he is. So first, let's talk about this. I believe Regal was brought in under the booker, Bill Watts. His assistant booker was Superstar Bill Dundee. A lot of people don't know that. Bill was a very good booker. They worked together at UWF, and Bill Watts loved him as a booker. To this day, he puts him over as a booker. So this kid, he comes in with that style at that time. And he gets brought in because he's different. Sir William, Bill Dundee, managed him. You can see Regal in even tapings or Saturday night's main events when Bill was managing, that was half a shoot. He would sometimes go over to Bill and Bill would say, okay, get on him now. Like, I love the fact that he took that style and realized he had to tweak that style, kind of relearn, how to adapt it into our shit. Took his time. He obviously is a decent guy because Bill Watts and Bill Dundee are not sociable, warm, and fuzzy fucking guys. Yeah. He survives that, uses all that he learned to his advantage, retains it. So that talks about humility. And then here comes Dusty. Now, when they switch bookers, especially at that point, when Dusty comes in, he wants to clean house on anybody he perceived as a prior regime, meaning Bill Dundee guy, Bill Watts guy, which is what Regal was. So that talks about him again, because now he's got to relearn a different kind of charm in politics. And Dusty had a nose for bullshit. So in the same token, he must have really demonstrated one hell of a humility to not only keep a job, but get a push from there. And then when fucking WCW closes down, after he survived all that, he goes to Vince's, relearns the shit again, and gets his biggest push and makes his most money. That says a lot about a guy to me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How many other guys didn't succeed at that level when WCW closed down?
Right.
You know, and at the time, William Regal was a mid-carder at best for WCW. I believe he came up to semi-main, even sometimes main for Vince.
So let me ask you this. So on Bill Dundee, you know, now he did book in Memphis. He was one of the guys that you know, if Lawler wasn't booking, then Dundee would book. I mean, he did book for a while. I mean, he would share some of the booking detail. When you were there, who was the booker?
So I was brought in by Bill, who was the booker.
He was booked. Bill was the booker.
But then it got weird. Like I says, I was there 2 weeks, and all of a sudden there was a booking committee. You know?
Okay.
And I walked in on that booking committee. I'm with Robert Full. Rob's like, come on, kid, you're with me. We can go on up to Jerry's mansion and get our pay early tonight on Wednesday instead of waiting until we go to Evansville. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know, Rob. I'm going to wait in the car. I'm fucking nervous, man. I've been in the territory 2 weeks. I'm lucky to be here. No, you're with me. It's all good, you know?
Yeah.
So we go up there, and Billy's out there playing with Jerry's guard fucking Doberman. He had a Doberman as a guard, you know? As a guard dog. And for whatever reason, this fucking dog loved Bill, and Bill loved the dog, you know? And I walk in, and Bill's like, what the fuck are you doing here, mate? He's kind of laughing about it, because I'm walking into a den of vipers, you know?
Yeah.
So I walk into Jerry's office, and Bill follows us in, or let us in, follow me, you know? So we go in there, and it's Jeff, Jerry Lawler, and Bill Dundee, you know? It's a booking meeting, man. I'm like, oh, no, Rob. I fucked myself, you know? So Rob comes in. He's like, hi, boys. What are we up to today? You know, and Jerry, you know, when Rob was not on the shit, man, he had a really great energy. What a brilliant guy, but the personality, you know? And Ron Fuller puts him over as, you know, Rob's ideas is the biggest thing that drew for Southwest Championship and all that shit, you know? And Southeast. Sorry. And then Jerry just responds as professional as he can to Foghorn Leghorn. Well, Rob, we're trying to figure out how to draw money, you know? And Rob says, well, the kid hit the nail on the head. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. He was here a week, and he said, hell, how can you have Jerry the King Lawler as your top heel? People down here will never boo him. So Lawler glares at me. Jarrett glares at me. Jeff's like this. And Dundee's laughing. So I guess what it was at the time was the Booker moniker only really had it was just that, a moniker.
At that time.
Yeah. Now, that could have gone either way, but for me, I think I
was going to say probably the reason was because business was a little down, you know. I'm sure they were probably like, well, we all better get together and figure this out.
Yeah, it was half panic mode.
Whereas before, when business was really good, they just leave the booker alone, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, because I seen it happen again with when I came in the second time. They decided to give the book to an outsider, Eric Embry.
Oh,
again, a great book.
Did he bring you in? Did Embry bring you in?
Jerry brought me in.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. I mean, you said Embry was booking.
No, I'm saying it like that because I remember that. So it was fucked up, man. Jerry brought me in again. Embry's supposed to have the book, but he brought me in under a guarantee. You know, and I kept waiting for Eric to figure out what he was going to do with me. And he had a great plan that fell apart. So I'm down there. Now I'm over with Eric because I can work. But, you know, Jerry and them had one fucking thing. They put me in the middle of Eric Embry, who I'm trying to get over with, the booker, and them. And I was finally like, man, which one of you do I listen to? Because you're both telling me different shit. You know what I mean? Then I finally just gave up on that and said, man, I'm just going to go out there and work. And I ended up just getting over, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a desperation thing. They should have monetized better. They didn't know how to monetize. And that's how Vince has always weathered the storm, is monetization. You know, Vince was the first guy that knew how to go into, let's say, when business was down, he would run Green Bay because you get that building. He would get that building for a steal. Or the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh building, the field house. He could take that field house where he knew he would get 2,000 people in there, even if he had to comp the last days. But he can make that building look like it seated 5,000 with his production.
Sure.
And you get that building for next to nothing. It wasn't a union building, so that's how he'd stay afloat. These guys never got through that ego, you know. They ran the Mid-South Coliseum when they probably couldn't afford it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So that just brings us back to, like I was saying, now, I really learned a lot with Dundee, you know. It's a weird politics because if you're the shits, Bill has no fucking use for you, Casey. None. He was stiff. He would say it aloud. You know what I mean? But if you work, and the testament to that was, you know, I was married to him for the first 6 weeks I was there, first month I was there as the booker, pseudo booker. If you could work, the sun rose and set in your ass.
Okay.
So I know what a tough test that was. And the stakes were higher for Regal at the time. You know what I mean? So that's why I have that bond and respect for William Regal.
Right.
You know, because I watched what he did, you know, and people don't pay attention to that stuff. And maybe the young kids today, because Regal's not in the ring, don't understand. But that motherfucker was compelling. That drew money, man.
Absolutely.
You know.
Have you watched any wrestling lately?
Well, I want to get to the payoff of the Regal story, brother. So, okay, leading into the funny shit about Regal, the story that you will get nowhere else. So after you guys had worked in the ring, you know, some people you work with a time or two or three, you didn't have a relationship going in there until you worked the ship, you did magic or half-assed magic with somebody you didn't know. After that, did you and Regal share a bit of a bond when you were just passing each other through? You know what I mean? A connection.
Yeah, he was a good guy. We would just, you know, small talk and stuff.
Yeah. But did you have a weird kind of unspoken of connection?
What do you mean?
Like, I never talked to Kenny Wayne in the 20 years I knew him until outside the ring, until Jill Jarrett's funeral. But I worked with the guy 100 times, and when I would see him, I would just be like, you know, it's on. You know, I guess it's us tonight from across the ring. You know. So at Jill Jarrett's funeral,
I wish I could say I was that tight with Regal, but I wasn't. We just see each other every once in a while and just exchange pleasantries. You know, I mean, it was like that with a lot. I mean, you know, it's the nice thing, and you know, like you when you run the roads with people and you work in a territory, or you know, like when I was in Puerto Rico. You know, you have a different, even OVW, you have a different bond than when you get to WWE. At least for me.
That's stressful.
It's stressful, and it's a business environment. It's stressful, and like I did, have a few relationships, but you don't really allow yourself to get that close to anybody. At least I didn't. I can't speak for guys that had longer runs. I wasn't there very long. But I can't speak for other people. Just me personally, it was really just business. I would just show up and do my job. So never really. It was a very at that time it was a pretty political environment. So you never really put yourself out there too much.
Sure.
You really did. Even if they were, and I was no threat to anybody, but still I was maybe a threat to somebody who was in the middle of that card that,
Yeah.
anybody, they're gonna, they're trying to protect their position. Not like I said,
You
not that
were
I
a
was a
threat
threat
to
to anybody.
someone, you didn't know about it.
So, you never really got, unless you traveled with somebody or you worked with them or you worked a program. Like I got pretty tight with Paul London and Brian Kendrick because I was,
Married.
married for
Yeah.
6 months. So,
Yeah.
and they were my age, and I think all four of us had the same thought process on what the business is and what it should be, and so we just kind of, and
You were on the same page in the ring.
yeah, we had, and I think the way we worked for the match. We tried to
Yep.
have we worked for the match, and we
For the
really
fans,
tried,
yeah.
and it was the same thing. Like I said, now I think the guys, the boys work for the boys. They don't work for the people anymore. Like they're
Yeah.
more worried about what the boys think about their matches. The only thing I gave a shit about was how that crowd reacted. And they had the same mentality. It wasn't about even though they could, now there's two guys that could do anything in the ring.
Yeah, I love
I
those.
mean, literally anything. They
Yeah,
could,
I love Spanky.
Paul can do the shooting star and what, I mean, Brian can do anything that Paul can do.
Anything.
Unbelievable. But they weren't just about having that match. It was all about the psychology. It's like, okay, how are we going to get the people to come unglued on that comeback and buy that finish? They were all about that.
Yep.
But you could sprinkle in the stuff that they could do really well.
That's why I
You know,
love
and
Spanky, man.
yeah, and it's like a boxing match. Styles make a fight. I think our styles complemented each other. They probably, I think before that, they had done a lot of working with a lot of maybe cruiserweight style guys.
Sure.
They had a good program with Mercury and Nitro Eminem. Um, so we were really kind of a different team for them to work, and I think
Totally.
I think we complemented each other really well. Because
Yep.
we weren't maybe that style. We were more of just trying to get heat, punching and kicking, not a lot of moves, which was good for them. I think it was something different, but I would put those house show matches up against anybody. I mean, we really had really good matches. I mean,
Did they
some of
ever
those
tape?
comebacks,
Did
some of
they
those
ever tape
comebacks
house shows then?
I mean, just they were taped, but
That's too bad.
they'll never see the light of day. I don't even know where they're at.
Yeah.
WWE, I don't know. They would see what they would do is they would tape the house show matches, and then I feel like if you wanted to, like, maybe the next week at television, it might have been at your disposal, maybe because they had monitors like in catering and shit. If you wanted to watch something from a house show, that I feel like those might have been available, but I might be making that up too.
No, you're
Might have
not.
been just.
Someone found a
I
year
feel
or
like they
two
did.
ago.
Okay, they did tape them. I mean, they had a camera there because you could watch at the house shows in the back on a monitor. So I can't imagine that they didn't actually. And when I say taped, I meant film. They had a live camera at the house shows for the monitor in the back. It was just a one camera, just a one shot. It was just a hard cam shot.
Let me
But
ask you a question.
I can't imagine that they filmed it, didn't tape it as well.
You know who I can ask that question actually is Benny Brown. Did you know Benjamin Brown when you were there? Was he there?
No, I don't believe so. No,
He
no.
is there. He's WWE's archivist. And
Yeah, find out. Yeah, that'd be.
yeah, but Benny, man, what a nice guy. The fans would know him because he is on that show on A&E, the WWE Lost Treasures. he's working in wherever that building is where they're finding all this stuff and putting it together, which used to just be in an old warehouse, but now they're putting it on display, which to me, it's a great fucking program and a great premise for a program, but he's a guy's guy. And I've been talking with Benny off and on for a couple of years now because I'm trying to figure out how to get the IWA Puerto Rico library, which they do have interest in, for the network. And because of that, Benny likes my gumption, sense of humor. I can talk to Benny. He'll answer me about this stuff. But while you're talking there, man, even if they have one camera of a lot of that shit, if they have that in a library or indexed somewhere on a hard drive or hard drives, there's a premise for a fucking program, original programming.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to do that. I'm going to reach out to Benjamin and I'll have an answer for you. Because I know I used to have it in there and I'm not ever going to say names. But they found a dark match of mine that I didn't even ask them to find from 20 years prior.
Yeah, well, I know TV, I'm sure that's all archived. Now with house shows, like just live events, who knows, man. I feel like maybe, but it's WWE. I'm sure they keep everything, but
yeah,
that's a good question. I'm kind of curious if they actually kept an archive. I would kind of be surprised just because there's so many of them that I don't know if I'd be surprised. I'm curious. Yeah, find out if every live event, not because a dark match to dark is TV.
Yeah.
Live event is a house show. That's that's even if you were now. Did you ever, when you were doing extra work for them, would they ever actually use you to New York? Would they actually use you on a house show or just television?
So there was a time when I broke in and they stopped doing it where, let's say, so for example, the perfect example of what you're talking about is anything from the Philadelphia Spectrum in the 80s, early to mid, and Madison Square Garden, early to mid. That was a house show, that was so much different than the TV during that time,
Right, that was a house show that was taped for television.
Yeah, like they may not use Johnny Rods on many TVs, but Johnny Rods, for example, would go out there and work magic with people just coming in, to the company on that house show. He'd be given sometimes, like it says, 20 minutes. And Jose Luis Rivera, same shit, on the house show. You know what I mean? So I know that Stone got a couple when I first broke in, but that was so unobtainable for me because I was green in about 88. That's when they stopped doing that because they just says, let's just use our own people.
Okay,
Senior,
So there was a point in time where they would. Well, I guess I knew that. I guess what I was asking though, so that's when they stopped doing it. So like the early '90s, they stopped using extras for house shows, only television.
Yeah, at that time, I guess you would say Baron Cicluna was a extra that got the house shows. Swede Hansen, same thing. But you wouldn't see him on TV very often.
Okay.
But they would say, okay, we're working on developing Eddie Gilbert, a young Eddie Gilbert. Let's put him out there with these guys. Vince Senior's agents knew who they could count on per area.
Right.
Especially when they were doing A, B, and C stuff. You just didn't have enough guys.
I was going to say, I'm sure when they were running 3 towns, they had to use some extras. They had to have.
Yeah.
They had to use locals on house shows,
Yeah.
The roster was big, but holy shit.
I would say he stopped doing that in about 88.
Okay. So, but and that's when they pretty much stopped running three towns.
Truth.
That's about when they probably quit doing that.
Now, folks, brace yourselves.
Pretty close. I would have guessed maybe like 90-ish is maybe when they stopped running 3 towns a night.
No, it was before that, man. It was before then. It had to be about 88 because I was green. I could inquire about how to get that kind of work, but it was the same thing. I might have went out there and took a cute bump and somebody popped, but I certainly wasn't trusted yet.
Right.
And I wanted to get to that point, but as soon as I got to that point, it had stopped.
Yeah,
you know, they put out a message even saying no more extras on house shows.
Still, I mean, 2 towns a night.
Yeah, if you could put Rocky Stone out there with the green to Tonka, that's how they would develop him. Because Stone, they knew, was a fucking storyteller.
Yeah.
He just didn't look the part, and he was old, and he didn't have any aspirations of being on their main roster. But the guy was a fucking worker, and it was a good guy to put Tatanka with, because the way he would talk to him, the way he would talk to him in the ring, and he would never hurt their investment, which was Tatanka. Good business sense.
I don't think Vince pretty much, he's always at least ran 2 towns a night. Even now it's Raw and SmackDown. I think they still run. Do they run joint house shows now, or do they still run separately?
I wish I could tell you, man. I think they're working 4 times a week at the most. I'd have to look, and I should probably know this stuff, but I don't. And I like that because now, with us fucking with Fridays, our talent is working 4 times a week too.
Yeah, I mean, when I was there, it was 2 towns a night because you had Raw and SmackDown. And even at one point, for a short period of time, they were back to 3 towns a night because they had ECW running.
Sure.
When they rebranded.
Hold on. Say that again because your phone dipped out. Say that again.
I said when I worked there, we ran 2 towns a night because you had Raw and SmackDown. And then for a short period of time, they did run 3 towns a night because they relaunched, they rebranded ECW, and initially they were running their own house shows.
Yeah.
We were only working 3 to 4 nights a week, and then eventually, because I don't think the ECW brand was strong enough when they relaunched it, then we started to run SmackDown and ECW.
Your phone's doing that thing again. Hold on, we can't hear you.
I don't know what to tell you.
All right, there you go. What'd you say now?
What was the last?
There you go again.
I don't know.
All right, so slow down. So anyway, maybe that's the Lord giving me a chance to talk, you son of a bitch. Anyway, what I wanted to say is, so Tommy Dreamer, I love Tommy, bro, by the way.
Too.
So at the time I was working for TNA, so I guess it was 06. Yeah, it was 06. And we had a sold shot, and I was trying to show them how to do it, We had a sold shot on a Sunday, on the East Coast. And I said, so from when we're at, why don't we put these guys to work on house shows Friday and Saturday? So I can get us to fly into Chicago, do Friday at Loves Park, at Rockford Racetrack, Rockford Speedway. And then the next night, we could have done a great building, Memorial Hall in Racine, and then we could have flown out and worked the sold show in the state of New York, was the New York State Fair. Now, I know that we had the buffer of the third night. It was a sold show, so it was a calculated risk. There was enough from the sold show, which was very opportunistic. They never sold shows where they had money left over because they overbooked. When you had Kurt Angle on a house show, paying him $650,000 a year, there's your budget, But I knew goddamn well we would fill with probably 1,500 people at Loves Park, Rockford, basically.
Yeah.
And that would have made money. And it would have been, that's a low ball figure, and it would have looked like 3,000. The next night, did you ever see Memorial Hall in Racine?
No, I don't think I've ever worked there, believe it or not.
So that building is great because it kind of looks a little bit like that building in New York ECW used to run with an upper tier.
Oh,
So it's very deceiving, but you could fit another 20, you could put 2,400 people in there safely,
oh,
you know? So I was like, this is what we got to do, guys, and I'll show you. We'll do it this way. Then next that we can do that every week and actually draw. Dude, you got to understand, we went to Birmingham, Alabama, and drew 80 people once. 80 fucking people with Kurt Angle on top.
yeah.
Unbelievable. And I had their ear, and I was really going in there pushing hard, saying it's a no-brainer. These buildings are so reasonable, you know. So at the time, I still kept my relationship with Tommy Dreamer, who was talent relations, but he was also a spearhead of the ECW brand.
Right.
You know that because you work the ECW brand.
Yeah.
Well, I hit him up with, I said, here, fuck him. I'm trying to do this. The perfect building for you guys is this. If you go in with a small roster, you can fit 2,200 people or 2,400 people in this building in Racine. And if you sell it out, even with your roster, you'll break even. And it sounds like that's what you're looking to do. So you could say to Vince, look, there's a market for it. And they did. That was the first live ECW event they ran, was Racine at Memorial Hall, based on me while I was still at TNA. You know?
That's, man, hey.
Yeah, Tommy was.
I like Tom. Tom's a good guy. Tommy's a good guy.
Yeah. He was funny because on more than one occasion, he's like, when do you get off again? When do you have days off again? He really wanted me to be an extra for WWE while I was TNA office.
Yeah.
And if I knew what I knew then, what I knew now, I would have done it just to break balls, you know?
Well, Randy, we got to take this one home. I got to get going.
Okay, we'll take this home. But now we can finally get to what Luke Williams calls the meat of the fucking potato. Brace yourselves, folks. This is a very, very, very scary thing that's coming at you. I want you to finish, and please, for the love of God, retell the story of the most terror and fear you've ever seen struck in the heart of Sir William Regal.
Maybe we should do it next week. Tune in next week.
No, these people need it. Now is the time.
So Regal was putting over, you're in a men's locker room a lot, right? When you're in the wrestling business.
Uh-huh.
It's like JBL would say, a men's wrestling locker room. Mm-hmm. So a men's wrestling locker room. And so, a lot of naked dudes. So anyways.
Hold on. You're getting Fuzzy Frank.
I don't know what.
It sounds like. Try again.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
Okay, slow down. Remember, you used to have to tell Luke, slow down. All right, go again. Men's locker room, setting the stage.
So anyways, he comes out. He's just like, oh, did you see the cock on Van Dam? Did you see the cock on that guy?
Hold on. The meat is getting fucked up. Slow down.
Dude, what do you want me to do?
Just talk like we tell Luke to talk. Slow down. It's something with your cheap-ass Walmart phone.
But if I don't do it like Regal, then it doesn't make any sense.
All right, now hit it and quit it.
He just came out. He's putting over. I guess apparently I never saw it myself, but apparently Van Dam's got a hog on him. Apparently, because Regal was totally taken aback by it.
But like how?
He couldn't. He sold like he sold in the ring. He was very disturbed on how large.
Was it fear?
he ran out of there like it was following him still. Like he had gotten out of the locker room, but he was kind of like looking over his shoulder as he walked away, like thinking maybe he was going to creep up on him or something.
Dude,
Hey, now you're fuzzy, Frank.
was it terror?
Hey, you're getting a little fuzzy too. You better talk to your production assistant.
No, some
there.
jackoff was calling me on one phone and it shook the Zoom. I don't know. So
Maybe that's what I had going. Maybe that's what I had going on.
did William Regal look like he just had a hate crime committed on him?
Yeah,
Like the victim of a hate crime.
like he what he had seen was very disturbing to him, and like I said, he came in and he put it over, and then he, like, as he walked away, he was like looking over his shoulder, like, like just to watch his back, like, hey, I don't want this thing to get me.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What was it? Fear?
And he was.
Hold on, I'm losing you again. Every time a jagoff texts me, that's what's up.
Well,
You're doing it again. Slow down.
I'm talking normally, man.
All right, go again. Tell me, was it sheer terror?
Yes, it was sheer terror, Randy.
Who was more afraid, the Japanese in the old Godzilla movies or Sir William Regal?
Oh, probably Regal.
Was he shook to the core? And you never pecker checked RVD. What's that?
What?
You never pecker checked RVD. How about this? I don't know what to say. Do you think that that's embedded in Regal's mind?
I don't know. He was probably just. I'm sure it was, but he was just selling. I think to sell.
Do you think he ever avoided RVD? Like, I'm going to stay on the other side of the building tonight. What do you think his fear was of the penis? Say again?
I said I don't know.
Do you think that he was afraid it was going to physically harm him?
Yes.
Because last week what we didn't get on recording was you said that you thought what about it was going to whatever the oxygen?
Oh yeah, he got out of there like it was gonna take. Like he better get into another room because it was gonna suck up all the oxygen in the locker room.
Do you think that, and like they like to call it, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a very cultured guy. Did you know I was cultured?
Yes.
So in the UK, they refer to the penis as a wanker.
Right.
So do you think that that in any way, shape, or form, the size of RVD's wanker has had any sort of negative effect on the people in the United Kingdom as a whole? Pardon me? You're buzzing again.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
I know what to tell you. Get a fucking decent phone, you prick. You got a Walmart phone, don't you?
No. How do you know that it's not yours?
Because I threw it across the room in a fit of rage. I think it's yours. I think you're getting texts by I don't know who, but every time you get a text or a notification, Pardon me, sir? All right, we can't hear this son of a bitch, so we'll close it out now. The first time was funnier with the Regal RVD story about the genitalias of RVD. But that's something that you're not going to hear Cornette and Briscoe and Bradshaw talk about. Folks, support us on Patreon. Casey, I've had some come to Jesus moments this week with Patreon.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, man. It's a clusterfuck. And folks, I'm sorry, it's a cluster fucking fuck. I'm trying to handle everything myself. And I'm falling short. And the bottom line is you can't get people to give a shit as much as you do. But at the end of the day, when I'm watching, I can't think of one of these apps, and I've got Hulu, I've got Paramount, I got Peacocks, I got Netflix, I got HBO. I get pissed at the navigation. So what's up with our Patreon is the navigation is for shit and nobody's told me. So we're working on fixing that navigation. The other thing is that the stigmata of Patreon is lifted like a son of a bitch, man. From 2013 till today, the numbers just went up like a son of a bitch, okay?
Yeah.
In 2013, Patreon's numbers were 130 million. That's when they were incepted. In 2021, Casey, Patreon did $2 billion worth of business. So for those of you that aren't comfortable on Patreon yet, that's a number I figure I'd throw out there to show you the popularity of it. The other thing is this. You know Lauren, right? My middle kid?
Yes.
Dude, put some clothes on. My middle kid, her boss has just been made the president, this is 3 days ago, of Fox Unscripted Content, Casey. That's a huge thing. And then Lauren just found out that she's going with her, which is great. It's like there's 3 top spots at Fox. Her boss has one of them, which is amazing because she hasn't even been there a year. They are fucking with Patreon. They know the value of Patreon at Fox Programming. One of the things, even though our navigation has been fucked up, folks, and we're fixing it, you can even go to it now and you can see the changes, how you can access the almost 500 matches in the archives that aren't anywhere else but Patreon. It's easier to get along in. You'll see what I'm saying, dude. For $6, you get over almost 500 matches, almost 200 podcasts with great stories like RVD's penis. And our current weekly tapings from Saturday nights and our current monthly Big Show monthly tapings. You know, so don't be afraid. It's only going to get better. And I'm sorry for the delay. I just have so much on my plate trying to just book things and be creative, develop talent, train talent, that, you know, I let that go to the wayside. At the end of the day, I can point fingers, but, you know, it's on me. The sun rises and sets on my ass when we fuck up or have any success, you know. So I just want to throw it out there. Subscribe to our Patreon. You'll get more than your money's worth. Trust me on that. Got to give a shout out. Premier Pro Wrestling on Pro Wrestling Tees. And I also noticed this is a thing again. We have a shirt on Redbubble only because Pro Wrestling Tees politically wouldn't put it up there in our shop. On Redbubble, we've got a great shirt that says, I stand with CM Punk. And if you listen to the past podcasts or teasers, you know why Casey James and I have personal ties and do stand with Punk. I'm the guy that gave him his first half dozen or so matches, you know. All right, all y'all. Thanks for the support. We're going to continue this way and keep developing the podcast on YouTube. We're going to add some more bells, whistles, and production value to it. We're going to give it up for free. And again, at the end of the day, wrestling is an infomercial that is so entertaining that you don't know you're being hit with an infomercial because it has to stay alive by generating revenue. And that's what we're doing this for. Plus, it's kind of fucking fun.
Right.
Still, right?
Yeah.
All right, Ass Blaster, you got to go.
I got to go.
Elvis. Boo boo to you.
Bye bye.